Imagine waking up tomorrow and it's February. No heating, no insulation, no glass in the windows. The temperature outside is -10. And your house, if you can call it that, is a round mud hut with a hole in the roof. You don't reach for the thermostat. You don't reach for your phone to check the forecast. You reach for a dead sheep. This is how humans survived winter for most of our existence on this planet. And honestly, some of their solutions were genius. Some were absolutely disgusting. And one of them, I'm not joking, was basically going to sleep until spring. Let's start with the house. Stone Age and early medieval homes weren't built the way we build today, with tall ceilings and big open rooms. They were built small, low, and deliberately cramped. Because here's something your ancestors understood that we've completely forgotten. A small space is a warm space. The less air you have to heat, the easier it is to heat it. Your house wasn't cozy because you were poor. Your house was tiny because you weren't an idiot. But here's what really sealed the deal on warmth. The animals. Celtic roundhouses, Viking longhouses, medieval peasant homes across all of Europe. They all had one thing in common. One end for the people, one end for the livestock. Your cows, your goats, your pigs. They weren't outside in a barn. They were inside, sleeping next to you. Because a cow produces roughly the same heat as a small radiator, and you had 6 of them, and nobody was complaining about the smell because everyone smelled like that. Now, what you were wearing while you stood in this gloriously warm animal room is its own story. Wool, layers of it, then fur on top. And this is the part that sounds crazy but worked incredibly well. Animal fat smeared directly onto your skin. Goose fat, bear fat, whatever fat you had. Ancient people figured out early that a layer of grease between you and the cold air acts like insulation. They weren't wrong. It's basically what modern athletes do before cold water swims. They just did it every day. For winter, smelling like a candle. But none of this mattered without fire. Fire wasn't a comfort for ancient people. It was survival infrastructure. And the most important rule about fire, the one thing everyone in the village understood, was that you never, ever let it go out. In many cultures, there were dedicated firekeepers, people whose entire job, their entire contribution to the community, was keeping the flame alive. In Rome, the Vestal Virgins kept a sacred fire burning continuously for over 1,000 years. Because fire going out didn't mean inconvenience. It meant people died. And then there's food. Starting in late summer, ancient people ate with absolute intention. Not for pleasure, not for variety. For fat. As much fat as possible. Because fat is stored energy, and stored energy is what keeps your body warm when there's no external heat source. They were essentially doing what bears do. Bulking up. On purpose. Before winter hit. Which brings us to the part nobody talks about. Medieval peasants hibernated. Not metaphorically. There are documented accounts from across medieval Europe of entire villages essentially going to bed in November and barely getting up until March. 1 meal a day, sleeping 15, 18, 20 hours, barely moving. Not because they were lazy, because it worked. Less movement meant less calorie burn. Less calorie burn meant the food they'd stored lasted longer. Their bodies slowed down. Their hearts beat slower. Their metabolism dropped. Historians called it the long sleep. Some contemporary observers assumed they were sick. They weren't sick. They were doing the oldest, most rational thing a warm-blooded mammal can do in the dark and the cold, conserving everything they had until the world decided to warm up again. And they were right. It worked. They survived. We came along, invented central heating, and then somehow also invented the 5-day work week. Somewhere, a medieval peasant sleeping under a pile of goats is laughing at us,